What's going on, everyone? It is another episode of Left Side Heavy, the podcast, presented by Blue Wire Podcast Network. It's your boy, Jevin Lefebvre. On this episode, I welcome back my cousin, the man behind the name, Left Side Heavy, Mitch Ledyard. It was a great interview. Unfortunately, we went through a few Wi-Fi problems and the audio might be a little bit off, but nonetheless, it was a great episode with the boy. We talk about him and the SFU boys winning the title, and then we talk about playoff scenarios, kind of who we like going in. Unfortunately, we talk about the passing of Mike Bossy, but other than that, it was a great episode all around. And I just hope you guys enjoy it overall. Please forgive me for any sort of issues that may run into with audio and just like the lagging and everything. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoy the episode. And here is Mitch Ledyard. It's episode 94 of Left Side Heavy, the podcast, presented by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jevin Lefebvre, and I welcome back on the weenie head himself, Mitch Ledyard. How's it going, buddy? How we doing today?
Not too bad, buddy. Thanks for having me back on.
For sure. What are you up to right now? Whereabouts are you? Got the jerseys in the back?
Yeah, those are one's a little charity jersey, one's
oh, that's beautiful.
A little all-star game jersey and prospect jersey. But yeah, it's 9:30, just still waking up a little bit early still, but hanging in there.
Is that a Movember jersey?
Yeah, so the middle one, it was the charity game, and they made like a bunch of different jerseys and stuff, and that's the one that I ended up with for my team. It's pretty sweet, one of the better ones, so lucked out.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. But how's school treating you? You got some studying to do today. That's why we're kind of kicking it off pretty early on this Monday morning.
Yeah, this week's gonna be a grind. I got one final on not a grind, but I got one on Saturday. That's my last one. But it's managerial accounting, so I gotta buckle down for that.
That sounds like an absolute trip.
Yeah, it'll be it's gonna take me for a ride for sure.
I want to talk about your because you play on the SFU team, and you guys had an absolute season, going undefeated, taking it home, taking home the chip in the end. But just explain the whole season. Kind of, were you guys expecting that? Like, were you obviously kind of go into a season with some positives, but were you expecting to go undefeated? And
no, I mean, you never really expect to go undefeated and never lose. Like, start of the year, I was a little skeptical. You never really know how a team's going to work out with younger guys and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a crazy year. I got injured the first semester, so I didn't play too much. I only played our exhibition games. I didn't play any regular season. Yeah, so that was tough to watch, but the boys did a great job going undefeated in first semester, and then got me back in the lineup, a couple other guys, and yeah, it was crazy. It was just everything fell into place, everything fell into our favor, and yeah, it was one of the most fun years of hockey I've had for sure.
so obviously going undefeated's not an easy thing to do, but like, what was it about the team that made you guys so successful? Like, is it the skill of the players, or was it like the team dynamics? Was it a mix of both? Like, what kind of made you guys?
I would say a mix. Yeah, I would say a mix of both. We were a pretty tight group, like in the locker room, outside of the locker room. We did a bunch of stuff away from the rink, just to, like, stay connected and hang out with the guys, and yeah, and skill as well. We had a super skillful team. We had our top six, top nine was pretty skilled. You could probably interchange a couple of those lines to be first line, third line, whatever. But yeah, and our D were really solid on the back end on both sides of the puck. So, but yeah, I mean, you can't. Skill is one thing, but I think you can't really do much if you don't like the guys on your team. You
Yeah,
don't really want to play for them. So I think that's the biggest thing. We're all pretty close, so it made it more enjoyable for sure.
that's awesome because especially when there's an end goal, and if you just have guys you can't really rock with, then it just makes that year much longer
Yeah.
and just harder in general. So it's good that you guys kind of got off on the right foot. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, I lost my train of thought. But um going into playoffs, was there any did it make it harder? Did the games feel that much harder to try and keep the um uh number of losses at zero? Because obviously there's expectations almost, and you've gotten this far, you want to keep it that way. Did the games make it feel that much harder, or did you guys just stick to your game plan like you did all season?
Um, I mean, we definitely stuck to the game plan, but definitely those playoff games have a little bit more intensity and a little more nerve wracking because we have that undefeated season. It almost doesn't make it worth it if we don't go all the way. It's
Yeah.
just like, what do we do this for? Obviously still great, but obviously you want the end prize at the end of the day. Um, yeah, those were more nerve wracking playoff games to keep the stature that we had. Um, and obviously playoffs are a different animal in every sport, and especially hockey. Intensity ramps up. Everyone's checks tighter, harder. Um, yeah, it was good. We pulled it out.
So we were talking earlier, and you guys actually have a big chunk of your roster coming back next year. Do you kind of hope for the same kind of thing? Obviously, you hope to win, but are you kind of expecting a similar season just because you already have the chemistry down?
Yeah, I mean, I hope I
Yeah.
hope we can not lose because winning's the best. But I can't see where we can't come close at least. Um, we're gonna have a stronger team next year. I think gonna get some good recruits in this year. Yeah, it just comes down to the team dynamic again. But since we got everyone coming back and everyone's pretty familiar with each other already, um, I don't see why we can't build off that environment and strive for another great season.
You played your boy Ron after playing so many years together, through Poco and just minor hockey as well. And I know you've played each other a few times throughout the season, but just explain being on the different side of him rather than playing on the same side for so many years.
Mhm.
How
It's
just how was that?
it's different. Obviously he's one of my good buddies, but yeah, once we're out there, we'll give each other a hey, how's it going? We don't see each other too often now that he's on the island, but just a little hey, how's it going? Like, have a good game. Just that little stuff. Give him a couple extra whacks here and there, but no, it's
Naturally, you have to.
yeah, yeah. It's always good time playing. He's a good player too, so um, yeah, it's good watching him succeed. But yeah, once we're in the game, it's pretty much all business.
Yeah, 100%. But I saw that you guys got Gaudreau cameo for
Oh yeah.
was it for Jack for
Hmm.
Hamilton?
Yeah.
How was that? Because the the Poco brothers, the beer league team that I play for. We got Bruce Boudreau to do a pump up speech for us,
Sick.
and it was unbelievable. But what made you do the Boudreau cameo for Hamilton there?
He's just the biggest diehard Ducks fan you'll ever meet. You know, wherever we're at, whether at a bar or like dinner or something, I'll like always be checking the Canucks scores and like, oh, Canucks, oh my god, JT Miller, like holy shit. But so we just like we were trying to think of something for his birthday because it was his birthday like a couple weeks ago or last week, and we were just looking up on like just like ideas or whatever and cameo up into our heads, and we saw Bruce. There's a couple other Canucks like I think JT Miller and Thatcher Demko were there, but we thought Bruce would be hilarious. And he did a pretty good job. So we gave him a couple prompts to say, and it ended up pretty good. He's a funny guy.
That's unbelievable. Boudreau's, yeah, the ones that he gave us, he was just firing us up because it was for the first game of playoffs, and just talking, relating us to like their season. And I'm like, it's a little
Unreal.
different, but it's
Yeah.
the coaching mentality it was so funny. But I got quite like, if you were to get a cameo from anyone, just a free cameo, who would you try to get? It could be like a happy birthday message for anyone, or like even just like pump up speech. Who would you try and get a cameo for or from?
Who would I get a cameo from? Maybe like Will Ferrell would be pretty good.
That would be
That would be pretty funny.
unbelievable.
Him or John C. Reilly, maybe. Those would be pretty good ones. So yeah, those guys are funny as hell.
It's got to be Will Ferrell as Anchorman.
Yeah. That would be yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a top tier answer. I can't really think of much better than that. Farrell or
Yeah,
Snoop.
that would be great. Yeah, Snoop would be pretty good.
Snoop would be pretty sweet. But anyways, let's get into some hacky talk here. It just seems like every episode someone tragically passed, but we're gonna talk about the great Mike Bossy. Unfortunately passed from lung cancer at the age of 65 years old. Talk about someone who was top tier at their craft. I mean, Mike Bossy got his career cut short. He only played like 10 seasons in the league, but 752 games played, and he had 573 goals, over 1,000 points, 9 straight 50-goal seasons. He had 85 goals in 129 playoff games. He won 4 straight cups, went to 5 straight finals. What are you going to remember Mike Bossy as? And yeah, what do you like? How are you going to remember Bossy? Because he's just like someone, if you were going to talk about the best goal scorers in NHL history, he's got to be in your top 3, if not top 2. So it's just unbelievable how good of a player he was. But how are you going to remember Bossy?
Just a pure goal scorer. I mean, I haven't watched too much of him because he's back in the 70s with the Islanders and stuff. But I think he's up there for like top 2 or top 3 like goals per game after like a certain amount of games or whatever. But yeah, just terrible to see him go so young. But I mean, he definitely left his legacy on the league for sure. Just a great guy, and knows how to put the puck in the net better than most. So yeah,
one of the most like all-time quotes from him was like, I don't aim for corners, I just shoot on net. That's how you score.
Yeah,
and it's like, I just put it on net and it just went in. That's just how it was done. I didn't pick corners. I didn't waste my time doing that.
must be nice.
And yeah, it must be nice. And I guess that's how you have I think I saw the same stat as you, like the highest goals per game. He's like 0.753 or something like that, goals per game.
Him and Lemieux, I think, are top 2.
Yeah, just
something stupid.
It's amazing because 10 years, like that's not a long time in the league. And from his rookie year to his second last year in the league, he got at least 50 goals.
Yeah.
Which, when you piece that together, it's insane, man.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You said 9 straight 50-goal seasons?
Yeah. From
Wow.
from 1977 to 1986.
Yeah.
And then his last year in the league was 86, 87.
Damn.
And he put home like 36. Yeah, I
What a
think
year. Wow. Damn. What a run.
yeah, I know, right? And I think just injuries got him, which sucks because just like what could be.
Yeah, seriously. Hey.
Like, do you think he would have the goal record?
I think he'd be pretty close. Played what, 5 more years maybe?
Yeah, I mean, he put up 573 in 700 games. So
Yeah, 4 or 5 more years. I think he'd be pretty friggin' close to that.
yeah,
That's crazy.
I think he honestly would just
Oh
like
yeah, but yeah.
the pace he was going at, and those
Yeah, 50
Islander
every year.
teams were good, and like he doesn't have to put up 50 every year, but
He was.
that's the thing. It's like, yeah, like he was fully capable. Oh my gosh, 50 goals, 9 straight 50, and he hit like 60 like 3 times.
Yeah, that's outrageous. Wow.
But another guy who's having an absolute tear of a year is Matthews. And I want to talk about your Leafs for a little bit because you are a Leafs guy for some reason. I don't get it. But but your boy Austin Matthews, I think he's the runaway heart this year. He's having a career year, and the Leafs are just having one of their best franchise years that they've had in at least a super long time. But Matthews with 58 goals, cracked 100 points for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. But what are your thoughts on this year that your Leafs are having, and do you think it's any different? Do you think things are going to play out different than they have in the past?
I mean, I sure hope so. I mean, we just set new franchise records, 50 wins, 106 points in the season. That's pretty good. Obviously a couple more to go. So
yeah, last time I checked, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that should get you in the playoffs at least.
Yeah.
But no, it's been pretty fun to watch, especially Matthews and Marner and Bunting. That line's been pretty incredible. Scoring any way possible, they're doing it. Obviously had a bit of goaltending woes recently, but I think overall, like, team defense has been a lot better than years prior. Obviously having like Giordano and a guy like Labushkin who can push some guys around and intimidate a little bit out there on the walls and stuff. Yeah, but it's going to come down to playoffs. Obviously, I know Matthews hasn't had the most productive playoffs as his regular seasons have been. But I think he's grown a lot as a player. He's playing a lot more team defense. He's a lot better away from the puck than years prior, I think. So just got to change a gear and one more gear into playoffs, and hopefully they can get past Boston if they play them, for God's sake.
Yeah, Boston's your guys' kryptonite, eh?
Oh yeah.
But is there a team that you just don't want to play in the first? Like, would you like Tampa or Boston? Because it kind of seems like it's creeping that way. Is there someone you'd rather play than the other? I mean, even being second in the division, those two teams are not an easy draw. Like, that's not an easy third place team to play.
I mean, it's either you're playing your kryptonite team or the back-to-back defending champs. I mean, pick your poison, really. It's pretty shitty either way. But I guess I would have to go with Boston. because Tampa's an absolute wagon. Vasilevsky is a machine in the playoffs, and they can score at will. And Boston hasn't been, I don't think, as strong as years prior with Bergeron and those guys aging a little bit. But I don't know. I think Boston would be great for them to play in the first round. If they can beat them, then that's a big like emotional barrier I think to hurdle over. So I would have to go with them.
Yeah, because especially with some of the struggles on the defensive end for Boston, and then their power play for some reason can be like inconsistent. And if Pasternak, he's out right now. So if he's still like if he still has like some sort of injury bug lingering and going into the playoffs, then it might throw a little bumps your way, like in your favor. But no, it's a tough draw for Toronto, no matter what. Like the East is just unbelievably loaded.
It's so good.
Like
so many top teams. It's
Rangers.
ridiculous.
Rangers have Shesty, and their power play is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Panarin, and then Pittsburgh. You got like Crosby's had an unbelievable year, and he was hurt for the first few weeks of the season.
Talking about it.
Like I think he's having a really underappreciated year. Like you said,
sure.
Not enough people are talking about it. And then Florida, everyone knows the season Florida's having. And then
enough said there.
Like the two wildcard teams, Boston and Washington, can probably spank every single team in the Pacific except maybe Calgary.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing how loaded the East is. But
it's gonna be interesting.
Back to what I was saying, like the Leafs' first round struggles is obviously apparent to everyone, and everyone kind of refers back to history when they make their predictions about how they'll do. And obviously you want to go on a year-to-year basis because judging off past year's experience, it doesn't always relate to the current season. But what do you think will get them through the first round? And like, what do you think will be the reason they don't make it through the first round?
I think it's for both. I think it's just their like will to win and like intensity and toughness levels. Because, like I mentioned before, and everyone says like playoffs and hockey is a completely different animal. You got to play a different way. You can't be shying away from hits. You can't be going into corners with one hand on your stick. You got to bear down and hike your pants up a little bit and dig in. But I don't know. They haven't really had a bunch of that in years prior, so that's why they haven't been like super successful. But I think they have. These guys are older now, getting older each year. A little more experience and on how to play the game. So I think they'll have more will to win, and I think that'll be a big contributing factor for sure.
Do you think this Toronto Maple Leafs team can win the Stanley Cup?
I just can't see it. I would love to see it, but I can't. They can't. I don't think they're better than Florida. I don't think they can beat a team like Calgary or Colorado from the West, even if they make it through the East. Like Florida's too good. And then on the other side, Colorado's a weapon too. They got so much firepower. Yeah, so I don't know. It's basically comes down to toughness. I think they added some good leadership with Giordano and good toughness with a few other guys. And Simmons seems like he wants to fight everything that moves. So if he can add sparks to these younger guys in the dressing room, I think that'll definitely help and definitely show what it takes to win.
Yeah, I also think an important factor is Marner, because he's shown that he has the good defensive capabilities, and he's shown that he's willing to do as much as he can to win. But the production that you guys signed him for has kind of gone flat in the playoffs. Do you think this year is going to be different for him? Because he has had the struggles like of not being able to score on the power play, but then he kind of started heating up once he got that monkey off the back. Do you think he's going to turn it on in playoffs? Do you think this year's going to be different? Because I honestly think he's going to put some of the haters to he's going to silence some of the haters. Like I think he's going to have a good playoffs unlike past years. But how do you think he's going to do?
I would agree. I think it's his time to show what he's really made of. And I mean, doing good in the regular season is one thing, but playoffs is where you make your money. It's where you show people what you're really made of. Cause it's a different beast. It's a different animal, and same goes for Matthews too. He said he's under his regular point per game standard in regular season. In the playoffs, he's not quite there. I think he's got a little bit more to show as well. So I think those guys have been clicking pretty good this year with bunting, and I think it'll continue into the playoffs, and they should be more productive for sure.
Yeah, man, we'll definitely see, and we'll see if this year's different. But I want to shift to another team, Minnesota, and Kaprizov just set a wild record, a single season record with 43 goals and 93 points. This guy is, if you watch him play, he's got to be one of the more exciting players to watch. Do you think that he could be up there to get, maybe he's not going to win the Hart, but do you think he can be up there and deserves to get some votes?
Yeah, I can definitely see some people voting for him. I definitely don't think he'll win it. I think there's more candidates that are more deserving, but I don't watch a ton of wild games, but when I see his highlights, it's holy shit, this guy can fly. He's like such a good skater. He's like does laps around the offensive zone, just like toys with defenders, and basically does whatever he wants when he has the puck. 43 goals is nothing to just look past. I mean, a bunch of guys have got over 40 goals this year, which is crazy, but no, he's definitely dynamic, definitely a dynamic talent for sure.
Yeah, because you always speculate the Russians who come over late to the NHL. Like he had a lot of hype coming to his rookie year, and it's hard to live up to that. But when he was a rookie last year, right? Or 2 years ago? Yeah, last year. He made it clear why the hype was legit. Like he was unbelievable and deserved that Calder trophy. And then you talk about sophomore slumps, which is very prominent. It's pretty consistent. Like a lot of people who have great rookie years struggle in the second year. And now he's just elevated his game even more and doubled down on the contract that he signed. I'm so excited to keep watching this player because he's made Minnesota exciting again, because they've always been that team where it's like very average. Like they're the definition of average. They would always like slightly miss the playoffs or just make it in first round bounce, mid-round first pick. And it's just like now it's like, okay, this team can contend.
Yeah.
But what do you think the ceiling is for this Minnesota team?
Damn, that's a good question. Because they're like pretty solid, like all the way throughout their lineup. They got some big forwards, some gritty forwards, some forwards that can score, like Zuccarello and Kaprizov. Obviously, you got this Boldy kid who's having a really good year. And their D are good too, Spurgeon, Dumba, and a bunch of those guys. They got Fleury between the pipes now with Talbot. I mean, they're technically all in for this. Fleury at the deadline. I think they have a decent opportunity. And why not? I mean, the West is not very good. So yeah, they'll probably just have to bounce off of Colorado though if they make it that far. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to play them.
No. Yeah, they're definitely a dangerous team because you got like Hartman, who's having a good year as well. And then like just that entire line with Zuccarello, Kaprizov, and Hartman. There's just it's a line that on paper, besides Kaprizov, doesn't really scare you, but like they're having an insanely productive year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the thing about Minnesota is like they're deceivingly good.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to scare you on paper, but they just come out flying and they're just like well coached and they got a bunch of players who are just committed,
Mm-hmm.
which I think makes them really, really scary. But yeah, I wanted to talk about them for a bit. And then the Flames. So Tree Living came out and said that he will move heaven and earth to re-sign Gaudreau, who is a UFA at the end of this year. He's having a career year of 105 points, and they just clinched the playoff spot with their 9-1 win over Arizona, who's been on an absolute stinker as of late. Have you seen Arizona's past losing streak?
Yeah, they are getting destroyed.
Yeah, so
Not even close.
5-0 lost to the Ducks, and then they won over Chicago. And then 5-1 loss to the Blues, 5-1 loss to the Canucks, 6-1 loss to the Knights, 6-2 loss to the Devils, 7-1 loss to the Yotes, to the Canucks, and then 9-1 loss to the Flames.
Not going to get it done.
And I understand that like they're rebuilding, right? Like they're just taking on contracts for picks, and like I can understand why they're losing, but this is like they don't even have a team together.
No. No, they are down bad right now.
Yeah.
They are down bad. I mean, they lost their best player, Clayton Keller, to a brutal injury, but I don't know. They're gonna be in the doghouse for a while. They got to hit their picks for sure. They got to hit their top 5 picks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they are screwed.
Like they're relying heavy on nailing these picks, because if they can hit on like 70% of these picks, then they're going to be flying in a few years. But I mean, like Barrett Hayton isn't working out, and he was I think 5th overall.
Mm-hmm.
Clayton Keller's been good. He's had his best year this year on Arizona's worst team. But do you think they eventually get moved?
I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see how the ASU situation goes first. See how, because it's all about revenue. I don't know how much revenue they can be able to pull in from like 4,000, 5,000 seat arena. But I mean, I could see it. But I heard Bettman doesn't want them going out of Arizona, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
If they were to be moved, where would you want to see them go?
I don't know. I heard something like Milwaukee or something, or like I heard Quebec City too would be get a team back there would be pretty sweet.
I think Quebec City would be electric.
Yeah, that would be good. They need something there again. Yeah, I think that would be the best spot for them.
It's just tough because I don't know if they want to do it with like the dollar, and just I don't know. I think Canada needs another team, but I don't know if they'd move up to Canada. I don't know if they would do that. But I also heard Houston. I think Houston could be good. It's like the biggest city in the States that doesn't have a professional team.
Yeah.
I mean, like the state of Texas has like Dallas and like the Stars and the Cowboys, but Houston itself is like an unbelievable city from what I've heard. the hockey culture is insane down there. So
Mhm.
I heard that's another potential spot, which I wouldn't hate. I
No,
think
why not?
I think I would assume that players like going down to Texas, and because I've just heard good things about um just like that environment overall. So I
Mhm.
think it could be interesting, but yeah, Arizona's in a bind right now. They're
Big time.
yeah, it's tough right now. But back to the Flames because they got an interesting predicament this year, and I feel like this is their make it or break it year because they have Tkachuk who's up as well, and Gaudreau, and it's just like I would do everything in my power to try and keep that line together because Lindholm, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau has been one of the best lines in hockey this year.
Mhm.
And do you think Gaudreau is back in a Flames uniform next year?
Damn. I mean, I don't know who else is up for contract, but I don't know if they're going to be able to afford both those guys. Because what Kachuk's going to score 50 goals this year. He's going to want at least like $9 million,
Yeah.
and Gaudreau is like top 3 in points, so he's going to want like $10 million probably. So like, I don't know. I think they'll only be able to keep one, and I don't know. Who would you get rid of, Tkachuk or Lindholm, or Tkachuk or Gaudreau? Would you not sign?
I think I would keep with Tkachuk, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he brings more
Brings more to the
all around.
table and he's younger and probably I I would put them around the same contract. If
Yeah,
anything, I think I'd give more money to Tkachuk just for the simple fact of him being so much more versatile. But I mean, Tkachuk is an RFA, so if he takes a bridge, but I don't think he'd want that because he kind of already did that. He's on a
yeah. He
three
already
year.
took a 3 year, didn't he?
Yeah. So
He's gonna want 8 probably.
yeah. Or just try and buy out some contracts maybe. But like Mangiapane's up this year and he's had a good year.
Yeah, he's got like 30 something goals.
Yeah, they signed Coleman to a 6-year deal, 4.9 a year. Like he's not a bad player, but that might kind of handcuff you a bit.
That's a lot of money for that guy.
Yeah. You got it's just some players that are like what you got Zadorov, Erica Branson, UFAs. Like their defense is gonna be thinning out too. Like they got
Yeah,
there's a lot of red tags beside these contracts that are coming up
yeah,
shortly. But I think the big ones right now are Mangiapane, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau. 3 guys who have contracts up this year and who've all had career years, which is not an ideal spot to be in.
no,
So that's why I think this is like their make it or break it year because it's like you're not gonna have the
yeah,
same roster.
no. Their hands are tied for sure. It'll be interesting to see what they have come next year.
Around for like Gaudreau though, because he's probably gonna be expecting a big number, like we've said. What pedestal would you put him on? Like what would you if you're his agent, how would you kind of negotiate like um who would you put him like compare him to so you can get like a number? Like what level would you put him on? Like a Marner level? Or like where would you kind of
Yeah,
put him?
I would. I'd say that's a decent comparable. Um, I don't know if he'll ask for or get that much. What's Marner making, like
10.
10-6 or something,
Yeah.
something like that. Maybe like 9.5. But I think Marner as like a player is a good comparable to Gaudreau. Like both pretty silky and shifty with the puck, but I can't see him making the same dollar amount.
Yeah, and I think Marner is slightly above Gaudreau. Just
Yeah,
I think he's better like defensively. And I just think he's a bit more dynamic as a player, but like Gaudreau is no slouch either. I think he's around a $9 million player. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who they keep because
Hmm.
I do think they go with Tkachuk though, but I mean, sounds like Tree Living really wants to keep Gaudreau, so maybe they just like make a lot of trades, like give up picks to like for teams to take on a player, kind of thing,
Yeah,
because they got a lot of moving around to do. So,
definitely.
as we near the end of this episode, I want to talk about some playoff scenarios here because the East looks like it's set, and there's just maybe some movement within the playoff structure, but all teams are clinched. Every other team in the East is eliminated. We got Carolina sitting at the top of the Metro with the Rangers in second and Pitt in third. And then we got Florida sitting atop the Atlantic with the Leafs in second and the Lightning in third. And then Boston with the first wild card and Washington with the second. So we got Florida, Washington, Carolina, Boston, TO, Tampa, Rangers, Pitt. Let's go to the top of Florida, Washington. Now, this isn't necessarily set, and I'm gonna do a bit more of a deeper playoff preview later. But how, just on the surface, what do you look at when it comes to this matchup?
That's interesting. I mean, you can't really ever count out Ovi and Oshie and Backstrom and those guys. Those guys are winners. They've done it before. They have the leadership to get the job done, but I think Florida is just too much. They have too much depth up front, on the back end, in the net too. Bobrovsky's been lights out this year. Yeah, I can't really see Florida losing that one.
Yeah, no. How do you think their goalies do in the playoffs, Florida? Because Bobrovsky's one of the more uh, unpredictable goalies in the league
Mm-hmm.
because he signs that 10-sheet contract and has a stinker first year with the team. Doesn't play up to his contract. And
Brutal.
but now he's just one of the better goalies this year. And obviously Florida helps being on that team because that team's a wagon through and through. But do you think he keeps this up in the playoffs? Because there's a lot of hype around Spencer Knight as well. And he's been kind of underwhelming. He's been good, but not as good as everyone thought. Like everyone was thinking, can he take over the number one spot over Bob?
Yeah.
But how do you think that tandem carries through into the playoffs and like through the playoffs? Do you think they keep up with this outstanding performance throughout the regular season, or do they kind of just underperform?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Definitely a lot of people in Florida will have their eyes on Bobrovsky, see how he performs. But I think he'll be okay. I mean, he's an old enough guy. He's done this stuff before. I think there was a lot of expectations of him signing that contract and filling that $10 million role and becoming like the highest paid goalie besides like Price maybe.
Yeah.
So like that's saying a lot. And I mean this year he's showing it. So I think he'll continue it too. I think he will.
Do you think Florida can win the cup this year?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, they have all the pieces to win it.
Yeah.
They're big. They got some guys that can move, guys that can score, guys that can save the puck. Yeah, they're pretty much loaded.
And that rookie
Back to
Anton
front.
Lindell is, who knew like a rookie would be a talking point in this loaded Florida team, because Huberdeau's having an absolute season. Barkov is Barkov. Duclair, Sam Reinhart, they've been having great seasons. Ekblad was having a Norris caliber season before he kind of slightly slowed down and then got hurt. And then the resurgence of Bob, like we've just talked about. But then there's like this rookie that just comes out of nowhere. Anton Lindell just has a crazy year. Do you think he makes big impacts in the playoffs?
I think so. I mean, people are calling him the mini Barkov. I saw he had I watched a bit of the Florida game yesterday, and he had a nice little shorthanded goal assisted from Barkov with a sick pass from Barkov. If you didn't see that, but yeah, he's such like a smart player for how young he is. He thinks the game really well. He sees the game really well. And he's like so smooth. I watch him skate. He's like so good on his edges and looks effortless. So I think he'll definitely be a difference maker in the playoffs.
Yeah. Another one I want to talk about is Rangers and Pitt, because you already got that as they said on Chicklets, that bulletin board. Shesterkin waved goodbye at center ice when they shut out the Pens. If this stays the way it is, Rangers and Pitt, I think this is going to be one of the more enticing series in all of playoffs, because you got Crosby, Malkin, and Letangs. Like, is this their last run at a cup? Because I think this Pittsburgh team is good enough to at least make things competitive. And then you got this Rangers team where things just seem to be clicking for them this year. And they don't seem like a joke or overhyped or frauds. Like, their 5-on-5 play needs to improve, because playoffs, you're not going to get as many calls going your way, and many power plays are hard to come by. How do you see this series playing out? And do you think it can actually be a competitive series, or do you think it's going to be favored more one side than the other?
I think it'll be super competitive. I mean, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, these guys want to win one of their last trips to the dance. Man, this Rangers team is like pretty feisty. They got a lot of like young defensemen and young forwards, and they just seem to get the job done. Like Panarin and Zibanejad, those guys are carrying the load up front, and Fox is contributing to another Norris Trophy season. And just starts saving all the pills. It's just, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Pitt comes back, because they're an interesting team. They can either be really good or really bad. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I could see that one going the distance, going 7 games.
what's your what matchup would you be more enticed to besides the Toronto Tampa Bay one, because those are your boys? But what matchup? Carolina, Boston, Florida, Washington, or Rangers, Pens? Like, what matchup entices you the most?
I would say that Pittsburgh Rangers one.
Yeah.
I think that one would have the most juice, the most drama, for sure.
And I think they have, in terms of like electric factory, like exciting players to watch, I think the Rangers Pens one is just filled with that. You got, and just like the storylines, right? Shesterkin was having like a historic season until he like slightly slowed down a bit. And then just Panarin, Kreider potted home 50 this year, which is crazy. And then Crosby is just like Crosby, Malkin, and Letang's last dance. And then you got like Gensel too. Tristan Jarry, can he keep it up in the playoffs? He's had playoff woes. So it's probably I'm most excited for that matchup as well.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you have coming out of the East?
That is going to be tough. Panthers or Tampa. I don't know. Are they going to play each other in the second round? Is that how that would work?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. So I think whoever takes down one of those teams is definitely going to get through, because that's like the Stanley Cup right there, pretty much.
Yeah, because Tampa's a team you just never want to
No,
play against in the playoffs. Because, like we said,
back-to-back champs.
Vasilevsky, and then like Braden Point, he's not even having like a great year this year, but he's had like Conn Smythe type of playoff performances. He's just
He's
been
a playoff
unbelievable.
player too.
Yeah, and
He's got
then
that extra gear. He's got the grit.
yeah, exactly. And then you got Kucherov, who just has one of the best players in the league. And Stammer's having a resurgence type of year. He's scoring at will. And Hedman's
Yeah,
Hedman.
yeah, they're good. Yeah, I think whoever wins that series between those two teams, if they play, then
Yeah, I can
they'll
see that.
probably go on.
I could see that for sure. Let's shift over to the West. And this one is a little still in play here because only 4 out of the 8 teams have clinched. Colorado's clinched the West. They're the best team in the West. St. Louis Mini, and then Calgary just clinched the playoff spot. And then we got LA, Edmonton, Dallas, Nashville, and then Vegas and Vancouver are still in the hunt for a spot. Now, this one is interesting because Canucks sit at 84 points. LA's at 90 with the last spot in the Pacific, and then Nashville has the last wild card spot at 91 points. Now, I think Nashville and Dallas are pretty much set. I think it's more going to be a battle for the last spot in the Pacific between LA, Vegas, and Vancouver. How do you see this kind of shaping out?
I mean, LA has a bunch of injuries right now, I think. So I think it'll be tough for them to hold that third seed. And like props to them, they outperformed what a lot of people expected this year. They played hard all year, but I mean they lost some key guys like Doughty and a few other guys at the wrong time for this playoff push. And yeah, Vegas hasn't looked spectacular lately either. I don't know, but I think Vegas will catch LA though. I think LA will keep slowing down, and Vegas will keep pushing for that third spot.
Yeah, because like as we're recording, Canucks play Dallas tonight.
Yes, such a big game.
So this is a massive game if they want to make a push for the playoffs because Vegas lost last night to Edmonton, got shut out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this game would put them 1 point behind Vegas at 86 points.
Insane.
And I do think Canucks have a couple games in hand on LA as well as Vegas.
Yeah.
So this is a huge game for the Canucks if playoffs are even a a hopeful for them, which it always is for the players. Do you think Canucks actually have any sort of chance at making playoffs, or do you think it's just unrealistic?
I mean, it'll be close. They've been up and down kind of all year as well. I'm looking at their schedule. I think it'll come down to their strength of schedule and Vegas's schedule. I think they have a real shot. I mean, tonight is basically do or die, especially because they're playing Dallas, who's in the wild card seed right now. I think it'll be close, man. I hope we can see some playoff hockey coming up in Vancouver. But man, they play Stars tonight, then they play the Senators tomorrow. Then they go Wild, Flames. Those are tough. Seattle, LA, and then the Oilers.
Flames and Wild are a tough draw.
Yeah, those are shocked.
Edmonton's dicey. We always are very inconsistent against them. Like
Yeah,
sometimes,
I'd say you got to win today and tomorrow for sure, and then hopefully go 500 the rest of the way between those 4 games. But it'll
the
be tough.
game against LA is one of the most important games
Yeah, that's
because
massive.
of the team we're chasing.
Yeah.
And then hopefully Flames, now that they've already clinched, maybe rest some guys. NHL doesn't really usually do that though, because they want to ride hot into the playoffs. So it's
Mhm.
just, do you think if Gaudreau comes in earlier, Canucks are in a playoff spot?
Yeah, I mean, a week earlier even, and they might be in the 3rd seed right now. Yeah, just the way they responded to him, it's been a good sign, and I think yeah, a week or two earlier, if Bruce is there. I mean, you never know, could be there.
Yeah, because he's just brought a new spark into this lineup, and there's talks about whether or not he's going to be back next year because next year is like an option. And
Hmm.
when he was brought in, Patrick Alvin hadn't been hired yet, so he's not necessarily Alvin's guy. Do you think Boudreau is back behind the Canucks bench next year?
I would be kind of shocked if he didn't. I mean, I think he's earned that right to be the bench boss for at least another year. Um, just the way the guys respond to him, and how they've played under him, I don't see why not.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting, but I want to talk about the Central here because it's, I think, a exciting series is St. Louis Mini. If
Yeah,
it
that'll be
happens,
dynamite.
can like what's your synopsis with that matchup? Because we talked about Mini and how exciting they can be. And then St. Louis is just a team who can turn it on in the playoffs. They're basically a team that just needs to make it. And no matter, I kind of relate them to the Kings back in like the 2010s, where they were a team that could just squeak in as the 8th seed, but can like make it hard for any team.
Yeah,
And they did that in 2012 when they beat the Canucks. Beat the Canucks in 5, and then they just went on an absolute tear and beat the Devils in the final. And they were an 8th seed. Do you kind of see the same thing with St. Louis? How they're just really deceptive and they can just, because they're a heavy team and they can turn it on in playoffs.
yeah, yeah. They're not the fleetest of foot, but they do have a couple guys that can fly. But yeah, they definitely got some blue collar players like Shen O'Reilly and a few of their other defensemen as well. They can mix it up. But I was looking this morning. Actually, they won like 8 or 9 in a row, by like substantial margins. So they're clicking at the right time right now, and Minnesota's always dangerous too. So yeah, that'll be one of the series to watch for sure.
Who would you have in that series?
I think I would go St. Louis in 7. I think they have the more experience in
Yeah.
those situations. I mean, it depends if Flower plays too. He's got that playoff mentality, and he's been there many times before. But I think St. Louis is a little bit deeper, and um, they've had more experience in this situation.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think I'd go St. Louis too, just by 7. But do you think this is Colorado's conference to lose?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Do you
they're
have
nasty,
they're so good, dude. They're so good.
and
Like,
yeah, and they don't even have Kadri right now. Um,
is Landeskog back as well?
yeah, and they don't have Landeskog either.
And they're just
They're
running through people.
and they're still just chugging along.
And they got even deeper at the deadline, getting
Yeah,
Lehkonen,
yeah,
Manson. Do you think this team is the truth, or are you suspecting another Colorado choke?
I mean, if Gaudreau doesn't get suspended, they'll be all right, like he's done the past 7 years, it seems, in a row. But no, I think it'll come down to goaltending. I think that's been a big question for them, is how Kemper's going to do. So I think he's going to have all the eyes and the spotlight on him. So we'll see. But I definitely think it's theirs to lose. They're built different for sure.
Is that your team coming out of the West?
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
I'm sure most people do as well.
I can't see them having another choke this year.
No.
And I want to see Nate Dogg win one. He needs one.
Yeah, and this is his last year on that $6 million team friendly contract. So now or never.
Yeah.
He's
Do you
getting a
think
big
he
pay
signs?
raise.
Do you think he signs another team friendly?
I
Because he
don't know.
said he
That's a good
would.
question.
He said he would, but I mean,
Yeah.
if they lose, then maybe he just like, yo, just like give me my money. But
Yeah. That's interesting.
do you think this playoff series determines what he goes for in the offseason?
No, I don't think so. I think he's established himself as a superstar already, and superstars don't make $6 million; they make like 9 or 10. So, I mean, anywhere in that range, I'd say is fair market value. So,
like, I think $9 million is a steal.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not making in the double digits, then something's wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because team friendly ranges on level of player. And if you look at just like Matthews, Marner, Tavares, they're all making double digits.
Yeah.
And then you got McDavid, Ovi, right? It's Crosby probably could be if he wasn't so superstitious and making that 8.78787 fucking contract that he has. But but yeah, so when McKinnon says, yeah, I'll take another team friendly, what does that mean for McKinnon? Because like a $9 million contract is team friendly for his level, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what number he lands on.
Yeah, but I think Colorado comes out of the West. I think this is. I don't think they choke it this year. And Calgary's amazing this year, but Colorado had like the Central clinched by like January.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like they were at like 98 points, and second place was at like 82. Like I saw that and I'm like, okay, this team is just different. And then they got deeper at the deadline.
Different. Yeah.
But yeah, man, this was a hell of an episode. I appreciate you coming on as always, Leggy. And let the people know where they can find you, follow you. If you want to tag your Instagram or Twitter, go for it, bud.
Yeah, I think it's Mitch _Ledyard on Instagram and Twitter. I think they're both the same. So yeah, that's where I'll be.
And you guys know where to follow me on Instagram at Jevon.Lefave, on Twitter at JevonLefave. Find everything for the show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LeftSideHeavy_. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Left Side Heavy, if you want to watch the episodes instead of just listening to them. And be sure to leave a rating and review on all podcast platforms. It helps grow the show. Legifer, thanks again as always. It's always a great time chatting with you. And keep it sweet, my man.
Hi, buddy. Thanks for having me. It's good to see how many podcasts you rattled off here now. You're almost at the century mark, buddy. You're doing a good job. I'm proud of you.
Appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate it. And yeah, episode 95, Kick Back and Relax, is this Friday. And might be doing a uniform draft, an NHL uniform draft.
Nice.
With the old lady, Georgia.
Nice.
Yeah, she told me last night. She's like, "Yeah, let's do a draft." I'm like, I need a guest. I'm in. Let's do it.
Right on.
But yeah, keep a lookout for that. And thank you for listening, everyone. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.